Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight, the official YouTube channel of serialatmidnight.com. My name is Heath, and I'm glad you're here because this is going to be fun. This is a list of family-friendly, spooky movies. We talk a lot about horror, especially we have talked a lot about horror during October, and we'll continue to do so. But we can't forget the family-friendly stuff because that's really, honestly, that's where my heart is for a lot of this stuff. So I have a list of things. I have a stack of movies that I've pulled that we've shown in my house, things that we've just had good experiences with over the years. So let's just dive right into it. First, I want to shout out, this is a double feature. It's actually a triple feature. It's got Fun and Fancy Free, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and then exclusive to this collection is The Reluctant Dragon, which you can only get via this package. But we're going to ignore the Fun and Fancy Free, and we're going to focus on The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, which is half The Wind in the Willows, Mr. Toad, obviously from The Wind in the Willows, and from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disneyland, formerly of the Magic Kingdom at Disney World. Rest in peace, that ride is gone. And Mr. Toad has moved to the cemetery of the Haunted Mansion. Fun fact, there's a Mr. Toad statue in the cemetery representing the passing of that ride. But with that being said, the other half of The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad is basically the Legend of Sleepy Hollow adapted by Disney. And I love it. I think, some might think that it's a little bit boring or a little bit slow, but I absolutely love it. I especially love that old early American horror, things like that, Sleepy Hollow, that legend, the Washington Irving story. So creepy. And I think it's my favorite adaptation of that story is this Disney version. So this gets watched pretty frequently here in our house. Also, as expected, The Nightmare Before Christmas. There are not going to be many surprises here, I don't think, but we have to talk about some of these. So like The Nightmare Before Christmas, I joke and say that Hot Topic would not exist without The Nightmare Before Christmas because it's become such an institution, such an emo symbol of whatever that is, that Tim Burton thing, that Tim Burton aesthetic. Though of course he did not direct this, he just was involved in the production of it. But I would be lying if I said that my wife and my daughter did not absolutely adore The Nightmare Before Christmas. I like it. I don't really like it. I like it. I think it's fine. But I do recognize that I am vastly outnumbered 2-1 in my house because this movie is apparently the bomb diggity, y'all. It is just the best ever. Everybody seems to love this movie. It has a huge following, and so we have to shout it out. It's also cool because it does introduce us to the holiday season, right? You watch this closer to Halloween, and it's like, hey, Christmas is coming. So it's, I like it. I think maybe my reservation about it is because it's gotten so big and so such a corporate thing. None of that's the movie's fault. The movie is what it is. But on that note, I will also shout out The Corpse Bride, which is very similar. Is it the same? Directed by Mike Johnson and Tim Burton. So Tim Burton did have, you can clearly tell it's his designs and stuff. But this is, if you like A Nightmare Before Christmas, this is kind of it's a trip back to the Tim Burton stop motion animation landscape, and it's got Johnny Depp in it because they can't work with other people apparently. But no, I say I'm being smug. Johnny Depp very good in these movies. In The Corpse Bride, it's got that. It's that gothic thing. It's very heavy on the gothic, and it's been a hit here in the house. Also, a huge hit. Coraline. I don't know if this is even showing up because it's so reflective, but Coraline, holy cow, you guys, my kid loves Coraline, and I've kind of discovered that a lot of other kids like Coraline too. It scares them, it's uncomfortable for them, but it's a safe place ultimately for them. So I would also, it's from the director of A Nightmare Before Christmas, so there you go. I don't even think I knew that. I usually do not watch this when it's on. I've seen it a few times and I thought it was pretty good, but this is huge in our house, absolutely huge. The buttons for eyes, it is, I don't know how much of this is showing up, but this is a great creepy movie for, maybe not too young. I don't know if you'd show it to a 3-year-old, but I don't think she was close to that when she started watching these. And then let's talk about Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is a movie that I definitely missed the first time around, honestly, because I was a little bit too old. This came out in 93, I want to say. You should never look for the year of a movie while you are doing a video. I just feel like I was too old for it when it came out. There might have also been like I wasn't allowed to watch it. I honestly don't remember, but I didn't see it until just a few years ago. And the first time I watched it, it kind of left me underwhelmed. And then I watched it again the next year, and something clicked, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I really like this movie a lot. I was able to just enjoy it for what it was, not what I had expected it to be or anything. There's also a stage show that they do at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at the Magic Kingdom. They might do it in California at Disneyland as well, but I can specifically speak for the one at the Magic Kingdom. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party has a Hocus Pocus live stage show. YouTube it, guys. If you've never seen it, YouTube it. It is epic. It is absolutely stunning. The people, the characters look like the actors from the movie. The music is outstanding, and they've managed to bring in all these other elements from Disney spooky stories and stuff. But all that goes to say, I have really come to love Hocus Pocus just in the last few years. So much so that I double dipped on the Steelbook that just came out like a month ago. And I do not do a lot of double dipping, but this is a bare bones release. It did not have really any special features. And the Steelbook, this is a Best Buy exclusive, but they reissued it in a standard version as well. And it has a commentary, it has some behind the scenes stuff, so I think it's worth a double dip if you're into it. I think it's reasonably priced too. It's under $15. Monster House, this is another one, maybe for slightly older kids, maybe getting closer to like 8 or 9. Your kid, or your family, or yourself. I would recommend this, maybe not for very small children, but along the way we did introduce Monster House, and it's great. It's got a great voice cast too. We got Steve Buscemi, Nick Cannon, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Kevin James, Jason Lee, Catherine O'Hara, Kathleen Turner, and Fred Willard. So it's got a ton of cool people in there, and it's a great story. It's a cool kind of a haunted house story, and I like it a lot. And then I also have to talk about Casper. I don't really like Casper. I'm going to be honest. This is not really my cup of tea. However, it's not all about me, and I do recognize that kids tend to really enjoy Casper. This is a very safe, fun ghost movie that's not going to be too upsetting. Nobody really pays the ultimate price in this movie. And it's got Christina Ricci in it, who we'll be talking about again in a second. Eric Idle, obviously, is a treasure, Mr. Monty Python. And it's I like the idea of it more than I like the execution, but I'm probably out there on a limb with that one, because this movie does seem very popular with a lot of people, and I think my daughter really enjoys that one. I will say this, the Addams Family and Addams Family Values, I respect more than I enjoy, but other people seem to speak very highly of these movies. We do have them there. I don't know if Addams Family Values is on Blu-ray. I kind of feel like it's not, but it might be. But I don't have it. I have this double feature, and I have the first movie on Blu-ray. And I like these movies, but I do recognize that they have a larger appeal. People really seem to enjoy the Addams Family movies. So these are PG-13, I believe. So, we're getting more and more advanced in age, older, again, your kids, or what they can handle. But let's get back to some fun stuff. I want to shout out Mad Monster Party. I watch this movie every single year. Had never heard of it before they put it out on Blu-ray. I'm not sure when exactly this came out. 2012. And I'd never heard of it before that. I never saw it in a video store. I feel like it kind of got rescued. I think there'd been like the original elements had been destroyed or something like that. I don't even know, but it had been basically restored and released, 2012, and it was the first time I'd seen it. And it is like a love letter from Rankin Bass, who I absolutely love. Rankin Bass are the people behind all the Christmas specials, the Rudolph Christmas special, Frosty the Snowman, The Year Without a Santa Claus, all those classic animated, like stop motion animated Christmas specials. Those are Rankin Bass. In The Hobbit, the animated Hobbit movie. And this is a stop motion animated movie from the mid 60s. I think it's 1960. It's 1967. And it just dropped into my life, and I love it so much, and it's become a tradition for me every single year. It was a theatrical movie. It wasn't a TV thing. It was a movie. It came out in the theaters in 1967, and it's Boris Karloff basically doing Boris Karloff, and it's like a very close approximation of the Universal monsters. It's fantastic. It's very fun. Honestly, it's a little long. I will say, everybody that I know that has seen this movie and likes this movie will admit it's 20 minutes too long, probably. It goes on a little bit too long, but it is, if you're into this sort of thing, if you're a monster kid, if you love the Universal monsters and you've never seen this, I highly recommend you check it out. And it's great for kids too. It introduces kids. It's kind of a introductory movie to the classic monsters and stuff if they're not super familiar with that stuff. The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. This is another movie that I hadn't seen until a few years ago. Now we have a Blu-ray of it, and I adore this movie. Don Knotts is an American treasure. Andy Griffith Show, The Incredible Mr. Limpet, right? Like Don Knotts is just Mr. Furley on Three's Company. Don Knotts is amazing. But this is another movie that until just a few years ago I hadn't seen, and we bought it and we watched it with my daughter, and we all just absolutely loved it. It makes us laugh out loud. It's not saying it's a scary movie is kind of misleading, because there is a haunted house situation, and it is The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, but it's got a good 45 minutes to an hour that have nothing to do with a haunted house or anything like that. It's kind of just like Don Knotts being Don Knotts for a long time. But it's a super fun movie, and this is a great one that I do watch every October. I will be watching it this year, so highly recommend that one. And then I got a couple more here. We're getting further away from like the classic thing, but every year, so we watch Gremlins and Gremlins 2. This is my 3-pack with Goonies as well, but we showed the kid Gremlins like, I don't know, like probably about 5 years ago. And she was just on the cusp. She was like 7, 8, somewhere in there. And it was just enough so that she could be kind of creeped out by it. And like it was gross, but it was fun gross. Because Joe Dante knows what he's doing. He knows those movies are a cartoon. I mean, they're not actually a cartoon, but they're very cartoony. It's puppet violence. And it's not for everybody. But if your kid is kind of wanting more of they're wanting to go a little bit further with some things, Gremlins it's insane. It's dark, but it's funny. Like it would be PG-13 now. It's a PG movie. If they put it out now, it would absolutely be PG-13. But it is a great movie for Halloween season. If you don't, if you want to kind of dip your toe into a little bit of the horror without going too far into it. And then Gremlins 2, we got to talk about Gremlins 2. What an insane movie. I feel like they came to Joe Dante and they were like, listen, man, could you do a sequel for us? And he was like, well, I will, but I want total control over the movie that I make. Like, I'll make you a sequel, but it's going to be my sequel. And I'm like, okay. And that movie is insane. So those are that. This is the last one. This is extremely obvious, but we have to talk about Ghostbusters. You gotta watch Ghostbusters during the Halloween season, right? This is my double pack with Ghostbusters 2. We don't watch Ghostbusters 2 very often. My daughter actually likes Ghostbusters 2 quite a bit. I don't know if that'll stick as she gets older. But Ghostbusters 1 is really the classic that we watch all the time. She absolutely loves Ghostbusters, and we showed it to her again probably 5 or so years ago. She was in third grade maybe, and it was that thing where she felt like it was hers because a lot of the other kids in her class weren't ready for it yet, but she was ready for it, and so she watched it and she overcame her fear of it and became like, she loved it because of that. And I will also say, when I would watch it with her, which I always watched it with her, we would fast forward through the scene with Dan Aykroyd and the pants, if you know what I'm talking about. Why is that in that movie? What a weird choice. What a weird addition to put in that movie. But anyway, it's a classic. It's one of the best movies of its kind. And to this day, the kid absolutely loves Ghostbusters. And so your kid, you, whoever I'm talking to about this, Ghostbusters is a fantastic 80s movie. It still holds up today. Ghostbusters is really, maybe in many ways, the ultimate October movie. So that's what I've got for you guys. I've got this stack of movies. These are the movies that have been proven successes in my house. But you may have had very different experiences, so I would love to know what your picks for family-friendly scary movies or family-friendly spooky fun movies are. Not necessarily TV specials. I've got another video coming up about Halloween TV specials, so stay tuned for that. But I would love to know what you watch with your family during the month of October. So guys, that's my list. I would love to know what you would recommend to me or what your picks are. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do appreciate you guys ever so much, and I will catch you later.